Hello, everybody. This is Michelle Weens from Performance High, and it is time for today's live. So today I am talking about try training that you've overlooked. And actually, this could go for any type of race or type of event that you might be training for. I just happen to have a bunch of triathletes that I'm working with, and so we're starting to have these conversations about what race day is going to be like. And it has been good for me because it reminds me of some of the things that people, hi Yetta, thanks for coming in. It reminds me of some of the things that people tend to forget. Oftentimes, especially if it's your first race, oftentimes people get super focused, which is good. I mean, you want to be focused on the training portion, like the sport training part. So like in triathlon, it's going to be the swim and the bike and the run. People get hyper-focused on that. And, their programs are filled with swimming and biking and running and maybe some weight training. And then, we kind of get to this point where we start talking about race prep and what race day might be like. And it starts to bring up some of the things that maybe people have forgotten. And so since I've been talking with my athletes about this, because race season is coming up, it's not that far away now. We have our first races coming up in the next month or so around here. And then, full race season kind of starts in June. But you still have time. You still have time to get some of these things ready that maybe you have overlooked. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So first off, one of the more important things I think to consider is conditions, weather conditions. And like I said, I've been talking to some of my athletes about this race prep kind of stuff. And I had a funny kind of conversation just recently with an athlete where we were talking about their race. And this athlete said, she said that she went to look at the weather predictions for that time of year in the area that she was going to be racing. And she said, wow, I just assumed it was going to be bright, sunny, warm weather. And it turns out it's, the predicted weather for that time of year in that area is a high of 55. So when you start your race, if you're doing it's a half distance triathlon, it's a 70.3. So if you start your race at say 6 or 7 in the morning, it's going to be pretty cold. That's a really cold temperature if the high is going to be 55. So her whole thought process about what she was going to wear during the race completely changed. Like we kind of had to talk through, what do you do for cold weather? How do you handle when you get out of the swim and you're wet? And what do you do to if you're going to go bike and it's like 45 degrees? So we had to talk through all this cold weather gear, which she doesn't really have. And so she needs to go and do some research and kind of find out what she wants to get and just kind of figure out what are the possibilities going to be and how do I handle that. So one of my first suggestions is make sure you take a look at the race weather, the standard, like what's the usual race weather for that particular time of year, that particular time of month in the area that you're going to be racing in. Don't just assume because it's a summer race that it's going to be nice and warm and 80 degrees, because it may very well not be. So prepare for the weather that you might encounter, which brings me to my second thing, which is to make sure that you train outside. A lot of my newer athletes like to train indoors. And I know in the wintertime, that's something that we have to do around here. We have trainers for, bike trainers and treadmills and stuff like that. And obviously pools to swim in. But as soon as you can, start getting outside. It's so important. And obviously, swimming, we have to be a little more cognizant of water temperatures and swimming with other people. Maybe that's not something you want to do by yourself. I wouldn't recommend it. Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, definitely check the weather beforehand. Exactly. Good thing to think about, right? Because those weather forecasts are out there. They may not be right, but if they're wrong, okay, so at least you're prepared for what they thought, right? So get outside as much as you can. And the reasons for doing that, I realize that oftentimes it's easier to train indoors. You don't have to have as many clothing things. You don't have to worry about traffic. You don't have to worry about lights if it's dark, all those kind of things. But here's the deal, right? You're going to be racing outside. So one of the ways that we start to figure out what kind of equipment we need, and what kind of equipment is going to work, and what kind of temperatures we can tolerate, and how do we handle nutrition and hydration when the temperatures are different. The ways that we figure that out are by being outside training in the elements. So if you've been on your bike trainer up until now, I mean, I know it's not that warm out there, but we really need to get outside and start to experience the weather. Not only, I mean, for biking, it's huge. You need to have your bike skills up to speed. And if you've only been on your trainer or on a stationary bike, your bike skills are not going to be there. We have to practice eating on the bike. We have to practice drinking on the bike. You really need to practice that stuff when you're running as well, so that you can know how to do that, what makes sense. What can I eat? Maybe you eat different things on the bike than you do on the run. You just need to get out and experience the world, because you're going to be racing in it. And so it helps so much with confidence to be able to know that on that day when race day has wind, that you were out yesterday in the wind and you were like, yeah, dude, I got this. I know how to ride in the wind. I know how to run in the wind. I know my clothing. I'm good. Such a confidence boost, as opposed to not only going out on the days that are super nice, and then you get to race day and race day is crappy weather, and now you're freaking out because you've never biked in rain. I don't know what. But that's the kind of stuff that can happen if you're not on top of this. So number one, make sure you know what the weather conditions might be so that you can plan for that. 2, make sure you get outside and actually exercise and do your sports in the type of, all types of conditions that you can possibly be in. I mean, yesterday was not a great day to bike, I will tell you. I was out there in it, but it's really good for your skill sets, and it's really good for your mental games to be out there doing stuff in that kind of weather. The third thing is to really put some thought, and I mean significant thought, into your nutrition and your hydration plan. That is so incredibly important, especially as we get into races that are over 3-4 hours long. I would say 2 hours, but when we get into the 3 and 4 hours, we're getting significant in terms of volume. So we really need to put a lot of thought and time into that nutrition hydration plan. This is something I'm talking to my new athletes about a ton, because a lot of times they just are really not on top of that. They drink some water and they're like, yeah, I drink. And I'm like, how much did you drink? And they're like, I had like a bottle. And I'm like, well, your ride was 3.5 hours. 1 bottle's not going to do it. How much did you eat? I had like a couple shot blocks. It's like, yeah, that's not going to do it. So there are ways to calculate that stuff. If you need help calculating it, I can help you. We have worksheets. We have ways to figure this stuff out. How much do you need to eat? How much do you need to drink? And then we just start experimenting and start practicing, because obviously you can't wait till race day to just do all that. It won't work. Your body won't like you. So you have to practice with this stuff and figure it out ahead of time, and then create a plan. And, that's one more thing that you've practiced. That's one more thing that you know how to do. And that takes the stress levels of race day down notch by notch by notch, because now you're just ticking off all those variables and you know how to handle them. So those are my thoughts for the day, y'all. Make sure when you're getting on your training plans that you include these other little pieces in there. They're all part of race day, and they will make or break your race and make it either so enjoyable or so miserable. So If you need help, do let me know. I'm happy to help. All right, guys, hope you liked that. If you did find this valuable, please hit the like button and share it with anyone you think might benefit. And I will look forward to seeing you next week at 1. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.